A week of cold, relentless rain sent me to the kitchen for a spot of baking.
Do you have a bark at the goat? Come on, now you're soaked.
Since we'd arrived in the village, we'd been given lots of produce, onions, potatoes, eggs, which are always useful, and I felt I wanted to express my thanks and give something back. I was keen to try a recipe that my grandma had often made when I was a child, and a recipe local to the region I grew up: Goosna cakes. Goosna is a small village in Lancashire, in northwest England, and close to where my grandma was born. Goosna cakes are a type of shortbread and flavoured to make them unique with caraway seeds.
So Bozo's had a bark at the goats as they go past every day. He's so funny because it's like he'll sit on the doorstep like now. Chris is working in the other room. He's got some conferences online to do. And so if we let Bozo out, he'll go and sit on the doorstep in the rain, and he'll sit on the mat, or he'll sit over in the alcove. But he won't bark to say he's out there and let him in, but he'll go bark at the animals and the goats that go past and the dogs and everything else. My sister had a dog called Dylan who would do that. So one day my mum was looking after him, and she realised she couldn't find him. She hadn't seen him, and she didn't know where he was, and she's calling and shouting and around the house, and has he come back? She checked the door, and then for some reason at the last minute she just decided to go in one of the spare bedrooms that is rarely used, and there sitting behind the door is the dog, who just sat there patiently waiting for her to find him, but never made a sound. And Mum was looking for over an hour for this dog, and he was there all the time, but he never made a sound. And that's like him. I think that's what I'm worried about. If he goes out or wanders off somewhere and then comes back, he's not going to shout to say, "I'm here." Maybe I need to have a bell around my neck and look like a goat, and then he will.
Once I'd cleaned up the kitchen, I got myself organised and measured out all the ingredients for the Goosna cakes, and with some degree of nervousness. My oven runs off bottled gas and has no measured temperature gauge, so I bake on a wing and a prayer, and often my prayers are not answered.
Okay, so it's basically I think a shortbread recipe, and it looks really simple. So in this bowl I've got 50 grams of caster sugar and 110 grams of butter, and in this bowl is a teaspoon and a half of caraway seeds. So caraway seeds are these that I brought from the UK, and 175 grams of flour, plain flour. So I'm going to cream these together, and then this goes in there, and you basically make a biscuit. Now my challenge is going to be how I cook those. It says gas mark 4, or that's like 180 degrees for like 20 minutes, so it's not very long. Yes, I will make that part up as I go along. So let's see what happens, and let's see if I can not burn these now. The challenge that I've got is I'm making these with plain flour, normal flour. I live in a household with a celiac, so I'm making these to give to people. I'll taste them, make sure they're okay, but they're not for us. Well, I can eat them, but not for Chris. What I have bought is I have got some gluten-free flour. We don't eat lots of cakes, and I make like an almond cake, but we don't eat lots of cakes for the challenging reason that it's always so easy to make a mistake, and generally I have no flour. So this flour that I've bought is going to go in a bag right completely away because it's too easy. It's happened in the past for us to mix them up and then it's a disaster. So he can be ill if he eats gluten, he can be ill for 2-3 weeks.
I mixed the ingredients together to make like a dough, let it rest for a while, rolled it out and cut out the biscuit shapes.
So this is I've rolled it out and this is the gooseneck cakes. Now I'm gonna say I don't remember them. My grandma's gooseneck cakes used to be a lot thicker than this. So I'll try these and then I might have to, if they work, I might have to adapt the recipe, but certainly my grandma's were more this kind of thickness and you broke them and they just crumbled. So almost like double the thickness. That's what I remember hers.
If you're interested, I'll leave a link down below to the recipe that I used and also to one that I found that looked more like my grandma's.
These are the biscuits that I've made. They taste really nice actually. They're really nice and buttery and sugary and sweet, but they're not what I remember my grandma making. My grandma's gooseneck cakes were a lot thicker and in a sense a lot drier. They would kind of melt in your mouth. These are really nice and tasty, but oh well. Now Chris can't eat these because they're normal flour, so either I brave giving them to my neighbour and saying thank you for all the produce that she's given us, or I try another batch and I eat these. I'm not sure what to do.
The bad weather persisted for the rest of the week, and I ate a few more of the gooseneck cakes, just to be absolutely certain that they were good enough to give away, and eventually I did. But then, while making nut bread, I almost cut off my finger.
This is one of those days where I'm nice and cozy and warm in bed, and it's just horrible outside and I don't really want to get up. But oh, and you may see an addition to my finger. When I was cooking, so I made those cakes, those biscuits earlier on, which are okay, but then I was making some nut bread, and guess who was trying to get the nuts from under the blade of the stick blender while it was plugged in, and I still had hold of the top and I just caught the on button. So it's like, you know, when you do something and you go. So yeah, I've cut my finger quite badly. It's still attached and it's fine, but it wasn't the wisest of things that I've ever done. So fortunately we've got a fairly comprehensive first aid kit. So it's got Chris has some antibiotic lotion that it's the last sachet he's used up, so it's like I don't know where we're going to get more of that, but so it's had antibiotic on it, and we've got steri strips. There's quite a deep cut on the front and then it's lacerated on the back. So I'm trying not to do lots of things because I pull the finger. So actually it being a really miserable day again. So it's now rained all week, so it's Friday now, and it started raining on Monday afternoon.
I did eventually pull myself out of bed, and even Bozo struggled to go out and bark at the goats. However, as the day wore on, the sun slowly returned.
Sun shines back. But what is so amazing now is to sit here. I don't need a television or anything. The fire's going, but I'm just sat here, and for the last half an hour, the sun, every now and again, the sun will break through the clouds, and then the clouds will come sweeping down off the mountain, and the ground will disappear again, and the sun will go away, and then it'll come back, and then you see it on the ridges over on the far side, and now it's close here, and suddenly the sun's come back, and it's so atmospheric. I've got the Mull of Kintyre song running through my head now. I'm not going to sing it, but you know, like mist rolling in from the sea. And it is literally like not mist, but I suppose the clouds rolling from the sea, because the sea is behind us, is kind of over that way, and we're the mountain that we're on the far side of is the first huge chunk of land that the weather from the sea hits. But it is so amazing to sit here. I'm just going to sit here for the afternoon and watch the clouds roll and the sun come and go. And so it's been a wild week. It's been a miserable week in some ways. Done my finger, sort of made some cakes, managed the rain and the wet and the cold, and now the sun's back and the clouds have cleared, and it is just that opportunity to sit here and watch the weather and the mountain dance together and be dramatic, and I love it. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to be really boring, and I'm going to go and make myself a cup of coffee, and I'm going to sit here and just watch the clouds roll and the sun return. So, thank you for listening to the story of a week of rain, or whatever this story ends up, just a miserable week or a hard or whatever it is. Thank you for listening to this week's story, or this period story. It's so lovely to have you. It'd be nice to hear what you think. Thank you to those people who have already encouraged me with comments that you like the content and you enjoy the atmosphere that I hope it is in my heart to create. I've always spent my time finding my inspiration from connection to nature, and from finding my soul at rest there. And I hope that is what's communicated, and I hope that is what you receive. That is my gift when I do these stories. That is my aim. My goal is to share my experience of this beautiful planet that we have, and the small, minute piece that I get to spend my time in, and try from this moment on to protect and to work with, to guard it. And it's almost as if lots of us have small little pieces that we guard, then for that little piece of this earth, you know, we make a huge difference. And I think it's only going to be small people who make a difference. And my favourite quote from Mr. Frodo. Is it Mr. Frodo? No, it's not. It's Gandalf, isn't it? No. My favourite quote from the Queen Elf herself, Galadriel. Even the smallest person can change the course of the future.
Thank you so much for watching once again. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like before you leave. See you again very soon for another story. Bye.